episode is a serious one. The question is, what if I give someone access to my business and then they screw me over? Now, this is something that prevents a lot of people from hiring people because they don't know the steps that they can take to protect themselves, protect their business information. So let's dive into this. So you want to be able to set up your business to shut someone out within a few clicks. So if you have made the decision that someone no longer should work for your business, you want to literally flip the switch and cut off their access to everything. You don't want to give them an opportunity to either steal things, delete things, trash things, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you can stop their access right away as soon as you have made the decision. So that way you can then call them into your office, have a conversation with them, and let them know that they're no longer working for your company. Now, how you do that is you set up everything ahead of time. So when you are hiring them, you are setting up their Dropbox access. You are setting up their Slack, their Asana, their 1Password, their G Suite. You are making sure that everything is set up ahead of time. So literally 3 clicks and they're done. Now, the big benefit of using 1Password is that it is literally that. There is 1Password to get into the system, but they have access to all of your passwords. Now, the benefit of that is they can't see any of those passwords. So they're just dots. They log into the website. Let's say, for example, that you want them to log into your Instagram. So you put your Instagram username and password into 1Password. That is part of their vault. So when they log into Instagram, they're going to do everything from 1Password. So they log into your Instagram, you have dual authentication set up, so you get a notification anytime that they're in your account. This is the second way to prevent someone from getting into your account that isn't supposed to. So then you shoot them a quick message with the verification code that gets them into the system. Now, it does not allow them to save the password. That's the key. Because if you have to force someone out, and let's say it's worst case scenario. Let's say that they are, after you. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to get in her Instagram and I'm going to delete all her pictures out of Instagram. Well, here's the thing. They might still have your password because it was in 1Password, but they don't have the dual authentication code that lets them in. So do you see how effective that could be? It also protects you from someone who's unauthorized, who's not even an employee, a potential hacker, from getting into your Instagram or any other social media platform for that matter, as well as your email. Any of these systems can be set up on dual authentication, and that is the key to preventing people from getting into things that they shouldn't be getting into. So by setting up all these systems ahead of time, yes, it does take time. Yes, it does take effort. And because I am not smart enough, I pay my technology guy, Kevin, who is a contract worker with us, I pay him to set it all up because you know why? It is so worth the money to know that it is set up correctly. Because if I set it up and didn't set it up correctly, then guess what could happen? I might not be able to flip the switch and get them out of it right away. So something to consider that you have a really great relationship with this person right now. They are awesome. You are loving on each other. Everything is great. But what happens if that turns south? Now, one other thing that I want to mention too in regards to the dual authentication, or actually another layer of protection, is if you're using Dropbox. Now, I don't know if G Suite, if they have this as well for their Google Drive, they might, but it's something that you want to research. So in Dropbox, we have the option that even if something gets deleted, it doesn't get deleted, if that makes sense. So you have to be mindful of your Dropbox level status that you have. They have different ones where there's an option where if you delete it, it's just gone right away. If you delete it, there is 30 days that you have to find it. Or the option that I have is if someone deletes something, I can always get it back. So maybe someone's mad at you and you don't know they're mad at you and they're about ready to quit and walk away and they decide, you know what? I'm going to delete everything before I go. The benefit of having the Dropbox account like I do, that means that all that stuff that they think got deleted didn't get deleted. It's actually sitting there waiting for me to come pull it back out of the trash and put it back into the folders. It has saved me so much sleep at night knowing that no matter what happens, we are protected. Now, if you don't have your system set up like this, if you are sharing a Google Sheet with all the passwords to everything, do you know how hard it is to change your passwords on every single thing? And also to remember what those passwords even are if you are not using a 1Password, LastPass. There's different programs for everything. But if you had to let somebody go today, do you know what those passwords are? Do you know if they change those passwords? Because that's a very real thing. Someone could get into your Instagram, change the password. They could set up dual authentication, and you don't have any access to it because they just shut you out. Now, if that doesn't terrify you, it probably should. It should motivate you also to do these steps in the beginning, no matter how cumbersome they are, how annoying it is when someone's like, oh, can you just send me the password? No, I cannot. I will put it in your 1Password vault though. You have to get in the habit of doing these things to protect yourself. No one is going to protect you like you will. So make sure that you set these systems, whatever system it is that you have in place, make sure that you are the administrator. Nobody else is the administrator, because guess what happens if they have administrative power? They can shut you out. Perfect example of this is on Facebook. So if you are a Facebook user, one thing that you want to keep in mind is that if you as the admin of that account, you are automatically the administrator. But if you make someone who's helping you with your Facebook ads or social media or something like that, if you make that person an admin too, they can kick you out. So what I always do is I always make that person who's helping me an editor. I never give anyone administrative status. I never give anyone the same status as me. They always have something different. It's probably an editor, a viewer, something like that, but never an admin level status, because I don't want anybody to ever bump me out of my own business and then I can't get the things that I need. Now, luckily, this has never happened to me. However, I have had to let people go. I have had to shut their access to everything off immediately. The other thing too that you can keep in mind is that if someone is in your email, let's say that their job is to check your email and move things around, what you can do, an easy thing that you can do on G Suite is you can log out of all your accounts. So what that does is if someone has saved your password into their Gmail, and of course it's set up for dual authentication, when you log out, there is a screen that pops up and says, do you want to log out of all devices? And it'll show you everywhere it's logged in. So it would say, obviously, you're logged in, and then it would say the person that you are trying to kick out, it would say that they're logged in as well. So you would want to log out of all devices, and then if they try to log back in, it's going to generate a new code for them to get in. Obviously, they don't have the code because you're not going to give it to them. So now they're officially locked out. So there's all these different things that you can do. And I want you to keep in mind too, because this does not always happen from 9 to 5. There have been situations that have happened where it's 8 o'clock at night that I have had to cut access from someone and let them go late at night. So keep that in mind, is having these systems set up ahead of time will help you when it's outside of normal business hours. You don't want to wait to let somebody go tomorrow or the next day at 9 a.m. when everybody gets back into the office. That's not a good plan, because if you discover something happening at 8 p.m., they literally have almost 12 hours to destroy everything that you've created. So it is better to cut it, get rid of them, get rid of their access, so that way they're not doing something they shouldn't be doing. So now, one thing that we talked about in one of my earlier podcasts was how to prevent yourself from being hacked. And that was how to set up the dual authentication. It needs to go to your phone, all these different things. So if you're curious about what dual authentication is, how it works, you can definitely check out that podcast. You can always shoot me a message as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But just know that the technologies that I use, I talk about the ones I use. So if you're asking me questions about G Suite, or I think it's called Google Drive, I'm not familiar with that. So I'm not the best person to answer, but you could put it into the Googler and they can answer your questions. I hope that helps. I hope that prevents future heartache. It's hard enough to let someone go, to have to fire them. It's a miserable experience. Don't make it worse on yourself by them getting in there and doing something, or, they've been disgruntled for 2 weeks and have deleted so many things that you didn't even know that they deleted. Don't let that happen to yourself. Get these systems set up ahead of time so that never happens.